Tech time. Time to say good morning to Dr. Computer and Alex Newman. Good morning, Alex.
Good morning, Jerry. I had my vaccine shot from AstraZeneca yesterday, and I can report no side effects whatsoever.
And I say I'm frightfully glad to see where you're sitting, actually, at the moment. Sitting there opposite the River Thames. Rather lovely, what?
Lovely, lovely indeed.
I
But
took the
moving on.
I took the Pfizer injection because
Oh,
the side effects are much better.
well, a little pick me up always, in the
Yes,
morning.
absolutely, yes. Anyway, I tell you what, so because I know we did have a subject yesterday, which I was rather looking forward to, but we're going to, I think you've moved the guest to next week, and that was going to be e-commerce, because I'm a professional shopper.
I thought you were an amateur.
No, I used
You've
to be.
gone pro.
Not anymore. Anyway, yeah, what is happening? I see you noticed something to do with Galaxy. Is that planets or?
Well, more than the celestial bodies. This time, this is Samsung's third event this year already, and they were kind of hinting at it a couple of weeks ago with the slogan "the most powerful Galaxy yet." Of course, they had already come out with a couple of phones, so people were thinking, "Hey, maybe it's some other device that they're going to add to the Galaxy line," and they did. They came out with two new laptops, the Galaxy Book Pro and the Book Pro 360. They have the best mobile tech right now on the market, including 11th generation Intel processors. They come with 5G connectivity, so you don't have to tether it to your phone or anything like that, but it does support all the stuff that you're used to, that you can connect your phone to the computer and use your phone apps on the machine. You can send and receive messages, take phone calls, something that some Galaxy users have been taking, as part of the functionality that they're used to for the last couple of years. Nowadays, they even bring the DeX laptop environment that you can connect your phone to, like a monitor and a keyboard and whatever. You used to do that with the previous phones. Now you can use your computer as the monitor, the keyboard, and everything else for your phone. So you can pretty much connect to the computer and use your phone as your computer and bring everything with you. So that's going to be interesting. The smaller one, the Galaxy Book, comes with 4G LTE. It's just 15 millimeters thick, and it's got a price at around $1,000, which is pretty affordable, and I think gives other manufacturers, good competition in that space in the thin and light laptops. The Galaxy Book Pro is even lighter, and that's going to be interesting as well, around $1,000 as well, pitching it against the MacBook Air. And it's going to have also a 15-inch model that's going to be a little bit bigger at $1,100. These are US prices. Panama prices hopefully will be kind of the same. Then the Galaxy Book Pro 360 is a convertible that turns from laptop to tablet and so on. That's going to be a little bit more expensive at $1,200 and $1,300 for the 15-inch with 5G support and everything else. They're going to come with AMOLED screens, which is going to be nice for a laptop to have such a high-end display, HDR, so you can watch movies with a lot more detail. And it's also going to have a secret screen function, which it kind of makes it so that it's difficult to see the content from the screen from other angles. We've seen it in other manufacturers, works very well. So if you're working in a coffee shop or something like that, it's going to have that privacy mode. They're going to start going on sale on May 14th. You can pre-order pretty much about now. And if you order before May 13, at least in some places, you get, like a Galaxy Buds Pro or something like that. So be on the lookout for offers from the manufacturers. It's going to be interesting because Samsung has some time already that they haven't been venturing in this very contested market. So it's going to be interesting to see how it develops and if people pick up these machines, which seem to be pretty powerful, lightweight, and decently priced.
Okay, and these will be available in the Samsung store here?
They should be. Of course, they usually take a couple of extra weeks to get here, although I would not be surprised. Samsung in the past has had some success in doing global launches, so maybe we'll see them in May. So I'll keep you posted if I see them at the Samsung store.
Okay. I tell you what, you're not going to believe this, but I've even so I don't know if it was a strange moment or what, but
Mhm.
I've sort of contemplated buying an iPhone.
Oh, wow.
Exactly. Nobody was more. I thought I
Could
had
it
to
be a
lie
side
down.
effect of the
Yep, I
vaccine or
had to
something?
lie down because I tell you what, if they bring out this privacy thing, which they're talking about, which Facebook are up in arms about, which
Mhm.
restricts anybody from your information being shared between them, I would go for that. That to me would
That's
be sufficient for me to consider it.
That's interesting. Now, that being said, there are ways around it if you have an Android phone, in the sense that you can, for example, not use the application and use the Facebook web page instead, the mobile web page. It's a little bit more limited in functionality, but since the web page can't talk to your other apps, then it makes it more difficult for it to track you. And if you use
Mhm.
a privacy respecting browser like Brave, for example,
Mhm.
it makes it even more difficult for places like Facebook to tell that you've been on other websites and so on. So, of course, it's a lot more effort. It's a lot easier for just to press no on a prompt by Apple saying, "Hey, do you want this application to share data with this
Mhm.
other application?" That being said, this is always an arms race. I'm sure that there's a room full of people thinking stuff up about how to overcome this in one way or another, and then another room full of people backing them up, to paraphrase Bruce Willis in Armageddon. But yeah, it's something to consider, and I hope that other manufacturers, especially Android device manufacturers or Google itself, does something about it. The problem is they're probably going to shoot themselves in the foot, because Google and Amazon and pretty much every other major tech company does some form of tracking. So
Mhm.
we just need to know about it and know what we can do about it, and try to avoid becoming a victim of any of the bad things that can happen when you are being tracked online. I mean, most of the time it's kind of innocuous, and it kind of helps a bit because small businesses, for example, can target more specifically and make better use of their few advertising dollars that they have to get the people who actually might buy their products or services. But the problem is when it gets used in a bad way, then everybody loses. So that's why
I've
we
got me
can't have
saying,
nice things.
if you're not using Facebook, are these other apps still getting your information?
Not as much. The thing is, a lot of the times, for example, I can tell you, my own website, for example, has a link to Google Analytics, so that I can tell how many people visit from what countries and so on.
Hmm.
I could probably use other open source projects that don't rely on Google or whatever, but I wouldn't get the same quality of data. So, I
Hmm.
mean, if people visit my website and they block, Google's cookies and whatever, I'll just see them as a generic user, and that's that. And I don't really have a problem with that. But it does give me a better idea of, who's looking at my website and what they're doing. Same thing with Facebook. If you go right now to your website, I'm experimenting with the Facebook chat module that allows me to receive chats from people. They don't even have to log on to Facebook. They don't even have to be on Facebook. It just uses the Facebook chat system. And if people don't use it, I'll probably switch to something else. But if people use it, I don't mind at all, because they give me the benefit of being able to have people message me even if they don't have my phone number, or if I don't want them to have my phone number, or
Hmm.
things like that. So I think the problem is not that the tracking is being done or that the tracking is being blocked. I think that we should all just read up on what's going on and make our own decisions regarding whether we accept it or not, whether we use the products that use it or not, and
Hmm.
and take it from there. That's kind of my point of view in that sense.
Well, too, there's another setting. I think it's only available through the developers access on your Galaxy phone. And I was just sort of switching it on. Then it doesn't affect using the web running. You can switch off on your Galaxy phone all the sensors.
That's interesting.
Yeah, they have it's a little switch and it's called sensors off, and it shuts down all your sensors on your phone.
Let me see if I can turn on developer mode. I'm going to look into that. That sounds interesting. At least from a development point of view or whatever, it just to test it out and see how it works. Now, these are all software settings. I'm guessing somebody would be able to write something to overcome that. I know that there's a brand of phone. I can't remember the name right now. That allows you to physically, it has physical switches for things like Wi-Fi and the camera and the microphone and everything. These are actual physical levers so that you can be sure. Yeah, because software, that you can make it real difficult for somebody to override it, but technically it's not impossible. You just make it really, really difficult. So we might want to look into that if that is something that we're interested in. But yeah, I'm going to look into that. Okay, let's see. I'm turning it on. There it is. I've turned on developer mode, so I'm going to look into that whole sensors off thing. That's going to be interesting.
Yeah, yeah. No, it was one of the little tips I found. Somebody came up on the, like they do on YouTube, and said, by the way, here's some of the things that perhaps you didn't know. And
and you can use them not only for things like privacy, but also for battery saving. If you're not using a certain sensor, turn it off. Especially if it's one of those old phones that you keep as a backup or whatever, and you don't need all the functionality, and you don't put a SIM card in. You just use the regular Wi-Fi, and you use it for anything else. In fact, I heard that Samsung's coming up with a program. It hasn't hit Latin America yet, but I know that they tried it, I think, in Korea and the US. Where you turn your phone, your old Galaxy phone, into things like a security camera or a sensor and things like that, so that, for example, you can have your sensor tell that the sun is out, so you'll open the curtains or close the curtains or turn on the air conditioner and things like that. That's going to be interesting as well.
Absolutely. What else happening in the world of tech? Anything?
Well, one thing that I think would be a great fit for Panama, but later, not just right now, is that Uber is in a partnership with Walgreens so that you can book an appointment to get your vaccine, get a ride there and a ride back, all in one place in the app. That's going to be interesting. I mean, right now, of course, I took the vaccine, my first shot yesterday, and there was a line. It moved fairly quickly. But some people might think maybe, an Uber that takes you like an hour or two might not be that affordable. But maybe down the line where, 70-80% of people have had their vaccine or whatever, and there are still people, for whatever reason, just took a little longer to take the vaccine. This is going to be an interesting way to do it. And I would love for the people in Uber Panama to make a partnership either with the government or with any of the drugstores or something like that, or clinics where you could, go get your shot in an Uber and not worry about, having to drive, especially because in some cases, fortunately not mine, people will experience things like headaches or any other thing that might prevent you from being at your best while driving. And not everybody has somebody else to take them to and fro. So that's going to be interesting to see if some sort of partnership is developed by Uber here in Panama to help with that. So there's that. Another interesting thing that I saw this morning was CES is coming back to Las Vegas, which has been the home for CES for more than 40 years. And they're going to have a lot of returning faces, including Gary Shapiro, the president and CEO of the Consumer Electronics, the CES and the Consumer Technology Association, which hosts the CES.
Hmm.
So they've announced that officially it's going to be January 5th through the 8th. That's going to be the main exposition. And preceding conference on January 3 and 4 are going to be the media days, which is just an entire couple of days of just new announcements and stuff from Amazon, AMD, AT&T, Dell, Google, Hyundai, IBM, Intel, Lenovo, LG, Panasonic, Qualcomm, Samsung, and Sony are already booked for that. I'm guessing a lot of the old favorites that also have their conferences on those days are going to be there. So that's going to be pretty interesting. And hopefully, I'm keeping my fingers crossed and starting saving up for it pretty much right about now. I hope to be able to visit and report from there. It's going to be
Oh,
interesting.
that'll be fun. That'll be
Oh,
good.
yeah.
And nice nose back. It's it's nice to actually see people getting around again. I went
Yeah.
to Christina and I for the first time for God, well, long time now. Went to Casco on Saturday night, and it was humming.
Yeah.
You wouldn't really have known. There are plenty of people there. It's funny how people still insist on taking their cars when there's nowhere to park. But yeah, I mean, it was nice to see, and people were being responsible. Everybody was wearing their masks. Restaurants were, the tables were well laid out.
Right
There
down.
were some places with a lot of people at tables, but then that's probably one family. You don't know. But yeah, I mean, I think our numbers are keeping down. We're still sort of around the 4% mark, so we're not going down anymore. We're sort of
Mhm.
stagnated at the level we're at.
Mhm.
And if we can keep that up, I mean, that is quite something. And people seem to be being a lot more responsible now than they certainly were a year ago.
The problem is we've lost a lot more people, and that's probably the cause. A lot more people are being more careful because in some way it hit home. They
Sure.
lost a loved one, they lost somebody they cared about, and I know I've lost customers, I've lost
Mm,
friends, I've lost family, and yeah, it's been hectic. But I
mm.
hope that people will continue to be responsible and do the right thing when they can. And I hope that eventually we'll look back and just laugh at all the misinformation and whatever, just like we do now, laughing at people selling comet pills when Halley's comet was coming to Earth in the early 20th century. So yeah, I hope it improves and that we can travel again. I mean, I used to travel like 10, 15 times a year for some
Mm,
time, and
mm.
I haven't stepped on a plane for over a year now, and I kind of miss the hustle and bustle of places like CES and shows like that. So it's going to be interesting if I have the chance to go back to that and bring you all the information from there straight from the horse's mouth.
That'll be good. Yes. Oh, glad you're going to be taking your horse with you.
Yeah,
Um,
maybe
but-
you could even come with me. That would be fun.
hey. Oh, sorry. Um,
Nay.
um, excuse me. I was just looking because I thought I'd seen somewhere. The Diddy ride sharing app is back again.
Yeah, yeah. And that's going
Um,
to be interesting as well. A lot more competition.
they have a thing here to do with vaccinating 5,000 coupons for your appointment for vaccination. So check that out.
Yeah, that's
5,000,
interesting. It's good that
5,000
they're
coupons.
striking when the iron is hot.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So there we go. That's another good one. And next week we are going to be doing e-commerce next week, aren't we?
Yes, we are. And we're going to have a lot more information on that. There's a couple of developments right now in the sense that the local equivalent of the IRS is looking into legislation that would finally put some semblance of order into any kind of taxation on
Mhm.
internet purchases. I've preliminarily looked at the documentation, and I think they can do better in defining things. For example, they speak about technological platforms, but they don't define what that is. And from my point of view, right now, if you're any kind of company that makes any kind of money, if you make any more money than people selling stuff at the traffic light or wiping windshields or whatever, then you probably are using technological platforms. If you have a social media account where you sell stuff, if you have email, if you have a website, if you have WhatsApp and you take orders there or whatever, you are managing a technological platform and you are operating a technology company that just happens to sell tchotchkes or
Mm-hmm.
services or whatever. So I think the definitions could be better so that people have a better idea of what it is they have to pay. Because I think, and you'll probably agree with me, that while we may talk about wanting to avoid taxes and that taxes are wrong and whatever, most of us deep down know that we live in a society and we need to contribute our part. And we would just like some simplicity in saying, okay, out of every dollar, I have to take out this much. I take that into account when I'm selling my stuff, and I know what to pay, and there's no surprises, and I pay what I'm due, and with the confidence that everybody else also pays what they are due.
Mm-hmm.
But if I see people not paying their dues, or if I see myself paying more than I'm due, of course I'm not going to be happy. So I think that clear laws regarding e-commerce would go a long way towards making people not only compliant, but happy in that they're not getting overcharged, other people are not getting undercharged,
Mm-hmm.
and that their money is going to where it's supposed to. Unfortunately, that is not the impression most people have. But I think that working on better laws could at least be one step towards fixing that.
I mean, one of the things I have here with, I mean, being an avid shopper, is that I don't understand, I don't comprehend why, when you have something that comes, so it goes into Miami, then comes into Panama, and it has, attached to it the delivery documents, etc., etc. Why do we never get the goddamn delivery documents? How can you deal with that if you don't have the documents and it's under guarantee? How do you put those documents into your company when you don't have them?
Yeah, I've had that issue in some occasions before. Not so much with Amazon, because Amazon usually puts more than one copy in the box. Maybe they know us already, and they attach one to the side, put one inside, whatever. But sometimes I do get like samples from factories or manufacturers or whatever, and they don't come with an invoice because they are not invoiced. So sometimes I even have to ask for like I would say like a symbolic invoice saying, this is the value of this device or whatever, and then, pay whatever taxes are due on that. But yeah, I think customs can do better. For some reason, things that should be opened carefully aren't. Things that should be opened at all aren't. So yeah, I,
Yeah,
I
this is
really
another
think
thing
they
I
should
don't
improve.
understand. Why is it even when you get a simple thing, which is in one of these envelopes, why do they insist on and by the way, the opening is not done here, it's done in Miami.
Oh, wow.
Oh no, I checked up on that. Everything in Miami apparently is opened. And I'm thinking, well, come on. In this day and age, have you never heard of a scanner? If this is
Yeah.
your business, get yourself a goddamn scanner. I don't like it when people open my stuff.
Yeah. And it's funny because you would think that Miami would have better access to equipment. I know for a fact that scanners here in Panama have like x-rays and all sorts of things and whatever, and they can tell when you put, I don't know, any kind of foreign substance or whatever in a container that's a metal box,
Mm.
like a huge metal box, and you can tell that somebody put the wrong thing in the scanner. So it's funny that they open your tiny Amazon box with a new wallet or something that you bought for yourself. And I don't know, they should have access to better tools and equipment there without having to open any of them. In fact, what they could do is open those clamshell um, packaging that you need like a machete and a hacksaw to open. And when you do finish, if you're not careful, you can cut a vein or something with the shards that come out. You know the clamshell design that I'm
Was
talking
that
about.
really heavy duty plastic
Yeah,
that is
yeah,
sealed around the edges? Give it
yeah,
to
yeah.
give it to an 80-year-old and see if they can open it. Because
I'm
even with a strong pair of scissors, it's difficult to cut.
I've broken scissors doing that.
Yeah, no, I know the stuff you mean. That's frustrating. I mean, the thing, and also I think there should be more transparency, like my account with my provider here for mail, which trust me, they're good, but sometimes I get confused on their prices and how much, because you'll bring something in, and it might be a bit heavy, and it costs you an absolute fortune. I
It
mean, an
does.
absolute fortune. You might as well have bought the thing a goddamn seat on the plane and let it come in. So I think there should be more transparency on the charges, because they put them in a lump sum. They don't give you the breakdown. So what you're paying for the customs broker, what is paid, because if you're running a company, you need to segregate these costs as well, and you're just not getting the information.
Yeah, some companies are actually doing that, that they're lumping their charges in in just one, so it makes it a little bit more difficult to shop around or whatever. I do warn people, there's a lot of couriers and shippers and whatever going around that offer you like really outrageous prices, and they say things like you won't pay taxes on things and stuff. I use a more formal one, and I'm glad I do, because I've tried using the cheaper ones a couple of times. I've also talked to people who use the cheaper ones. And yeah, you pay a little more, but you pay for peace of mind. A lot of the times, these cheaper ones will have, uh, you know, huge swaths of time where for some reason they can't do things the same way, and your packages get lost, or they don't pay the taxes that there's or tariffs they're
Mhm,
supposed
mhm.
to, so they get held up in customs while they're investigating and whatever. And if it's an important part of something that you need for a project or for your livelihood, then you're pretty much out of luck, because you have to depend on those processes finishing. So I said to myself a really long time ago, I'm going to stick with the provider that I have
Mhm.
until I don't, if they ever drop the ball. And they've only gotten better. I mean, it used to be that things would take 2 weeks to get here. Sometimes I've had things come in like 4 days.
Oh yeah, no,
Uh,
I agree with you. I mean, I'm the same as you. Sometimes it's a frustration. Sometimes, things go a bit squiffy or whatever. I send a little note to my people here. They're always very good. They always come back and tell me what's going on. They always help sort things out. And like you say, I mean, I find now that something arrives on a Monday, I know that I'm going to get it here the latest probably Thursday.
mhm.
No, no, no. I agree with you 100%. There are frustrations. It can be a little bit expensive sometimes, but at the end of the day, when you've got the peace of mind of knowing somebody, they've got a big outfit in the States that's dealing with this stuff, and you can always eventually get it all sorted out. So no, I'm with you. I won't change, um, and I get an extremely good service. And if you're listening, Jessica, good morning.
Yeah, and I know what you mean. For example, the provider that I use as well, their customer service has only gotten better. I could think that maybe the ones that are not as good, they take them out back and put them in packing boxes or whatever, and not talking to the public, and they just keep getting better and better or whatever until. But yeah, it's like when I come in, they greet me by my name, and they ask if my family's okay, and since all of us in my family can have authorized each other to pick up each other's packages. They even look up the rest of my families and say, "Hey, here's another package," or whatever, which makes surprise gifts a little bit more difficult. But yeah, it's fun. It's fun. So yeah, they treat you right. So you pay a little more, but it's not that much more, and the peace of mind that you get is so much better. So
Mm. And
hopefully, for those of you out there who order a lot of stuff from the U.S., shop around you and ask your friends and whatever about the delivery and the service, and you'll make a better choice that way.
And Mary Lou, a frustrated listener, she says, yeah, I hate it when they open my stuff too. They also steal some of your things. Well, I'm very happy that hasn't happened to me yet, but she said it has happened to her. I've never had anything actually go missing.
Yeah, me neither. The only package I think has been misplaced in about almost 20 years with them has been one that was sent to a previous address instead of the actual one.
Right.
And it wasn't something that was worth anything. It was just the document, so I didn't mind. But yeah, they usually track these down even when they're important or valuable. So that's also good to know.
Yeah. Well, that's it. We'll chat again next week. More about shopping or e-commerce
Exactly.
in generally.
And 2 weeks from now, I'll tell you if I had any other side effects from the vaccine.
I'm not going to say a word for a change. Alex, as always, thanks so very much for being with us here on this morning's program. And we'll look forward to next week.
See you next week.
All right. Dr. Computer.